Good evening, everyone. I'm Trip Muldrow with Arnett Muldrow and Associates. We're just going to be on a little bit of a standby while we wait and make sure we get a thumbs up. Just to let everyone know, we're kind of reaching a new technology. Oh, well, we all getting used to the new technology, right? So this is live streaming on Facebook. It's also live streaming in various public places
I'm
throughout
here.
the county. And
I know. Let them know I don't hear.
we have individuals dialing in by Zoom. I do see that we have one individual who's having some technical difficulty. Um, and so I'm still going to wait to get the thumbs up and give it 1 or 2 more minutes. And then we'll kind of jump into how to interact and so forth. So welcome to the meeting and thanks everyone for coming. Just stand by a couple more minutes. And I promise you won't have to look at my face the whole time. So I'm going to be looking at the screen for a direct message or from a thumbs up from Williamsburg County to begin. And once I see a thumbs up from Williamsburg County, we will begin the meeting. If you're having trouble and you're on Zoom connecting to your computer's audio, I would suggest that you don't use your computer's audio, just stick with the video and join by phone. That number is 1-929-436-2866. So if you're having a little trouble with your computer's audio, that 1-929-436-2866, it give you probably crystal clear audio there. And Williamsburg County, are we on a go to begin? I'm not hearing protests from the next room, so I'm going to go ahead and begin the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out this evening. This is kind of a whole new era. We do have people joining again multiple ways. We have people at various places throughout Williamsburg County. We have people joining homes on their computers. We have people joining via phone. And we also are broadcasting live on Facebook. So it represents kind of a whole new way to interact. And I will confess that we're all kind of new at some of this. So your patience through it will be much appreciated. Just by way of background, I'm Trip Muldrow. I'm with Arnett Muldrow and Associates, and we're part of the consultant team working with Earth Design and many partners that I'll mention in a moment on this really exciting project connecting to South Carolina's Black River. Before I begin, I'm going to share some background information, but I do want to give you, and I'll do this again, multiple ways to interact on the course of the meeting. I'll be asking a series of questions. And so feel free to, if you're on your computer, if you're on Facebook Live, to type in your answers to the questions. They will be captured as you write them. Also feel free, if you're in a group meeting, there should be someone there who can receive your question. They'll be mic'd up or bring you a mic, and we can take questions verbally. And if you're calling from home and want to verbally do something rather than enter it into the chat box in Zoom, feel free to do that as well. And I'll do my best to recognize you, and we may try and recognize you and unmute you as well. So there's other hosts that are doing this, so I don't have to drive completely alone. What an amazing, exciting project. Connected to the South Carolina's Black River. Um, and this, this is really a fascinating beginning point. I do want to stress that to everybody who's in attendance.
I wonder why I can't hear you.
We've had a meeting on Thursday in Georgetown, a meeting last night in Andrews, and then tonight's meeting in Kingston will not be the last meeting. So there'll certainly be more input. We're treating this as a beginning and not as any foregone conclusion. So one of the things I'd love to do is share with you, and I know many of you have seen this. This is the storyboard for connecting to South Carolina's Black River. And it's available via Story Maps. I will have a link that I show you, and at the end of my Q&A and the input. But I want to walk you through this because the story map is kind of the living documentation of the planning process that we're going through. And as you scroll through it, it's got great ways to interact. It's got clickable links. If you have not taken the survey yet, there's a button here to take the survey. I will be showing a way to do that as well. I'll come back to the video in a moment. If you haven't seen the video, I watch it over and over and over again. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the amazing partnerships that have come together to start this exploration of a park system from Kingstree to Georgetown through Williamsburg County and Georgetown County. We have the South Carolina State Parks system, the Open Space Institute, the Nature Conservancy, Ducks Unlimited, the Black River Cypress Preserve, the National Park Service, Earth Design, which is the consulting team I'm working with, the Winyah Rivers Alliance, the South Carolina Conservation Bank, and also we have Georgetown County, Williamsburg County, Kingstree, the city of Kingstree, the town of Kingstree, and Andrews as partners as well. It really represents probably an unprecedented alliance among groups across South Carolina and in this part of South Carolina that's so special to all of you. I want to say to those of you who are from Williamsburg County, I've been monitoring the survey, and as of today, we crossed over the 1,100 point on the survey. And those of you who have a Kingstree zip code, you guys are winning. So that is the most, the most responses are coming from people with a Kingstree zip code. So if you're not from that zip code, get in there and get that survey done. I love looking through this. You get quotes from Dr. Wright, who's the county supervisor, insight into the location as well, where we look at the map and the Black River and what it is. I think for many of you who are from Williamsburg County, grew up in the area or have moved to the area, know the magic of the Black River. And I can benefit. I'm from the upper part of the state, but my family owns property on the river. But I grew up as a young boy down to the river and have lots of great memories. And I'll touch on some of those tonight. And just looking at through the map, this will change through the course of the project. So if you've been to the story map, as we begin the process and learn more, there'll be more interaction additional information added to it, so that you can come back and kind of revisit it as we look at things. Right now, everything on here is basically what we would call an inventory of existing conditions. So we have things like the boat landings marked, the water trail, the Black Scenic River, which is designated a scenic river which runs above King Street and down to Georgetown County, a little bit below Andrews. Parcels that are already available for public access in some form or fashion, and then private protected lands as well. Of course, the history and culture of the river and what it means to our communities all across Williamsburg County and Georgetown County and South Carolina are noted here, as well as the incredible natural resources that are part of the river environment. So please use this as a tool to reference and come back to over and over again in the coming months. Again, we're at the very beginning of the process. So this provides a lot of great information up front, but also will be updated as things continue to happen there. So what I'll do now is switch to another screen because nothing tells a story about the river more than the video. And I hope you've been able to see it, but I'm going to share it with you again if you have not had a chance to see it. So, stand by.
Well, I think first and mainly, the river belongs to the citizens. They ain't owned by one person. It belongs to all the citizens that live up and down this river.
The Black River.
Well, I think first and mainly, the river belongs to the citizens. They ain't owned by one person. It belongs to all the citizens that live up and down this river.
The Black River is a classic coastal plain river. It runs about 150 miles through 5 counties in South Carolina. It's a very special ecosystem. We have ancient cypress trees and plants and animals that are kind of hard to find in other places in South Carolina.
It's not just the river or the edges of the landings. It's also the uplands and the watershed. The river is the gem, it's the diamond, but you gotta have the rest of the setting for the ring to show off the diamond.
Our community uses the Black River for multiple things, fishing, hunting, kayaking.
We swim in these waters. We eat the fish from the water. We drink the water. It's certainly core to all aspects of our life.
If you look at the map of all 47 South Carolina state parks, the biggest hole you'll find is right here, right where we are. So the Black River Initiative is about connections. It's about connecting people to the river, and it's about connecting sites along the river. We have a 70-mile stretch of the river starting in Kingstree, South Carolina, and multiple sites along the way that are in various stages of development as parks. We don't know what the offerings are going to be for the river yet. We want the community to engage in this process and tell us what they'd like to do, whether it be picnicking, or camping, or fishing, or hiking, or biking, or flying a kite.
This is our opportunity to create something not only for today, but also something planned for our future.
It's going to bring the community together. It's going to give them something that hasn't been seen in South Carolina in 20 years.
Lots of tourists come for our beaches, but we hope that folks will start realizing the very special adventure that awaits them on the Black River.
Great. What an amazing video. Every time I watch it, I hope you have the same feelings I do about the river.
That's what you this morning.
So what the format of the meeting is
What's the problem now?
be very respectful of your time this evening. We're going to gather input and certainly we'll be opening it up for questions at the end. And the input, again, can be entered in multiple ways. So if you're on Facebook, you can enter it into the chat. If you're on Zoom, you can write it into the chat on Zoom. And then certainly you can be verbally recognized in the place where you are, and we will, okay. And we will, and we'll acknowledge you there. So I've been told to stop sharing, so I'm going to get the questions and I'll do them in person rather than on a presentation, because it is a whole lot easier face to face. And each question I have is one to really design to get at your feelings about the river. Okay. All right. Your feelings about the river and the images that come with it. And so as someone who grew up going on the river, what I want you to do is conjure up your own image or postcard that captures your feelings about the Black River. And I want to be careful to qualify this and say, it's not just the river itself. It's the land next to the river. It's the forests. It's the fields. It's the communities along the river. It might be your church. It might be the school. It might be an experience you had. But what is that image or postcard that comes to mind for you as you think about the Black River? And I did this last night in Andrews, so I'm going to indulge and do it again tonight. My postcard is, because my dad passed away 20 years ago, my postcard is my dad taking me and my brothers for a hike through the swamp to see the Indian Mound at the back of deep in the woods and getting all muddy. And it's a picture that I don't have in my possession, but only in my mind. And so that's my postcard, but I want to know yours. So please feel free to enter it into chat or we'll recognize folks who raise their hands or unmute yourself. So what would you put on the postcard? And as I said last night, there's a door prize. We don't know what door you're in, but we'll figure out how to get it to you for people who answer first. Anyone want to raise their hand and provide input? I see Torrance Wilson says to everyone, children playing on the water's edge. That's a pretty good postcard right there. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for that. And a child's foot. I see Torrance Wilson says to everyone, children playing on the water. Yeah, a child's foot standing in the Black River, tea-stained toes. I hear from one of the folks here, a river with a picnic shelter, bike trails, RV parking, and trash cans. Come back to that trash can thing in a minute. Okay. Mr. Taft would like to see the area dedicated for weddings. Getting married on the Black River. Maybe not on the water itself. Maybe. Other things, that postcard image. Are there any from the Facebook discussion that folks would like to add?
Mr. Chip, one person said water sports.
Are there any from the Facebook discussion that folks? Facebook lags just a little bit, so you'll see a little echo there. Okay. Fishermen off the banks. Great. A picture of the baptism in the river. Yes, we heard that last night. It was fascinating to hear Mayor McClary of Andrews was baptized in the Black River, and the question came up last night that the observation that some churches still do that, and this idea of I wonder who still does it. So we have Weeding and Swallowtail. Councilman Woods, what area in King Street the park will start? Yeah, so Black River, and we'll definitely get that to you all. Other postcards. Well, I'm going to move to the next question, and certainly we can go back if you've got I see another one, educational opportunities. So this is a great transition to the next question. Think ahead to 2026, and that's arbitrary. 5 years is arbitrary. It could be 3 years down the road. What is something that you want to be able to do, experience, see, have along the Black River, and not just the river itself, but again, the land adjacent to the river, the communities along the river, whether it's King Street, Andrews, any of your communities that you can't do or see or experience right now. And while you're thinking about that 5-year horizon, I'm going to just read a couple of things here. The idea of fishing off the bank. We've got water sports, educational opportunities. I think this is an image, a river with cypress trees, boats, fishing, and animal life. Picnic shelters, ATV area, bike trails, more boating access. Great. All right. Marine biology, park for events, place for RVs. These are all things on that 5-year horizon. A botanical garden, a store on the river, so a place to kind of get those supplies. Trash cans. I'm not the number one on the survey so far is litter and trash cans are the number one desired amenity, which relates to litter as the number one concern people have. So just let you all know who are sitting there, that was number one in the survey. Campsites, concession stand area, tourism, other 5-year horizon things. Something you'd like to be able to experience as a result of things that may happen along the river or on the river or near the river or in the communities. This next one is cabins by the river, more canoe and kayak throw-ins, put-ins, gas tank areas on the river. Everyone needs a gas tank today who was out and about, but I know I'm recognizing the comment that this is a 5-year time horizon and not today. Good luck to anyone who needs gas this afternoon. Location for arts and theater. Wonderful. Other things you'd like to see. I love that idea of art and nature interacting with each other. And then the practical aspect of, if you've got a motor boat of some kind. A boardwalk for walking and running and biking. Wonderful. I can remember the Waccamaw River when the Riverwalk first went in there in Conway, and what a dramatic difference it made. Historic sites, an education center, an area for family reunion. I love it. It's such an amazing thing to hear this on family reunions and family gatherings, because places like a river and parks are places where memories are made that last a lifetime. And so I love hearing that. Zip lining, right? I know camping tour kind of stuff, and hiking. Yes, not everyone's a boater. Some prefer the hiking. So some like to boat and hike. Other things on that 5-year time horizon. Some great comments here. Highlighting the Revolutionary War. Yeah, fascinating piece of the story of Francis Marion and the Revolution and wandering through the swamps. A festival area, place to take photos. Just that idea of having that spot. Oh, this is that scenic spot where you can catch it, that perfect photo. Right. A family restroom. Excellent. Cabins. Wonderful. Other things you want to be able to experience, have, see in 5 years. Retreat opportunities. Right. I think we're all hungry to get back together again and have those gatherings. So whenever I see things like retreat or family reunion, and I'm like, yes, let's have it. So I'm going to ask a question. I don't want to, these questions all flow together. So I want to jump to bike trail. I want to jump to the here and now. If you could wave a magic wand right this moment and just change one thing, if you just had that power to just change one thing, what would it be that you would just say, wave that wand? I would either fix this, have this, get rid of this, make sure this happens. What would that thing be? And I'll backtrack as you think about that magic wand question and add bike trail, a place for people to have birthday parties and family gatherings. Again, we're hearing that theme kind of run through. What's that one thing? And that one thing could be that thing that just, oh my gosh, this drives me crazy and I wish that was fixed. Or, so more people cleaning up their messes along the river. Yes, that's the corollary comment to the trash cans that we heard earlier. Litter, more access to the river. Fascinating observation that in Williamsburg County, there's a fairly significant gap between public access points along the river in the Williamsburg County section of the Black River. A bit more frequent access, Georgetown part of the river, Georgetown County part of the river. Right. A splash area, recreation. Wonderful. Other magic wand waving activities or things that you want to see changed or happen. Outdoor cameras for safety purposes. And I think this relates to a comment that I'm seeing in other forums through the survey, is the idea of making sure that public access is safe, family friendly, that you can go to a public access area and not have to encounter people doing things that maybe they should not be doing in that area. So that comment about the outdoor camera certainly ties into an interesting bigger picture that we see in some of the survey responses. Good. Other thoughts? So I'm going to go to a fourth question. And again, to recap the questions, we have the postcard. We have kind of that 5-year horizon. We have that one thing that, gosh, if I could do right away. This fourth question is, you saw from the story map and we from the planning team, this is the beginning of the process. So it's the very beginning. And in being a beginning, we want instructions from you on whatever you do during this process and as you plan and as you think about the future of the Black River and its environments and the communities along it. Make sure you do this and make sure you do not do this. So finish that sentence in any way you wish. Is as you look at the future of the Black River, King Street, whether it's in rural areas, anywhere around, gosh, guys, girls, ladies, men, make sure you do this, make sure you do not do this. And I'm going to comment on a couple things. Handicap accessible, handicap friendly, sites for campers, park security, a playground area. Right. Any things to make sure that we think about, though, that we consider. I mean, I'll throw mine in, make sure you don't turn it into Gatlinburg, Tennessee, I don't think we want it to be that kind of touristy area. Other definitely do's and definitely don'ts. Make sure that maintenance is included in the plan. Such an important comment, that it's not good enough to have the plan and have the facility. Is how are we going to maintain it in the long run? Definitely make sure we maintain the scenic quality. Stay consistent in the projects and don't forget maintenance. I love that. That's such an important consideration. Nothing's more concerning, than going to see something and not seeing it maintained. Say do boardwalk, don't spoil the nature. And then I'm getting a comment from Bloomingvale. Can you see our chat? So I'm reading out everything I see. We see, do not ruin the river by trying to be all things for all people. Don't do projects that cannot be completely done right. Love that. Small splash pad, island water park, a kid water park, another kid water park, more LED lights. I'd just love to ask the question for those following up on the water park and the kids water park. Would that be more in King Street, the community that you're thinking? I'm just asking for curiosity. And then we have a comment on okay, I get a yes on that. Okay, thank you for that clarification. The idea of the water park or at the state park, there's some sort of, kids activity, kids. And then of course, LED lighting, and lighting is such an important aspect. Right. Other make sures. Anything you want to go back on the others? Yeah, this is a great comment from a caller. This may have been covered in the first part of the call, But how will this affect those with private access to the Black River? And we're going to certainly have a chance for more questions, but I want to address that question because it's on the screen at the moment. Is one of the things that we're making sure during the survey is that we're making sure we're trying to talk to folks who own property and have private access on the Black River. One of the objectives that we're hearing is, one, make sure no matter what, we're protecting the scenic qualities of the river. And then two, from a visitor standpoint, how do we curate the visitor experience so that visitors know where to go and where not to go? And so the idea would be that we're making sure visitors are directed to public access areas and not wandering or meandering into private areas and private access areas. So that's something that we know from the planning standpoint we want to pay particular attention to. Really appreciate the comment from Michelle. Continue to involve community in the planning. And I want to reiterate to everyone wherever you may be, whether you're on Facebook or in a meeting area or on your own, is that this is the beginning. It truly is the beginning. And so continued involvement has got to be a hallmark of this. And so thank you for bringing that up. And we want to make sure we do that. Here we have a comment, the Robert D. Irvin boat landing, renovation during this project planning and development. Right. Others. All right. We're at about 40 minutes into the meeting, 37 minutes in the meeting. And this is where I really get to experiment with this technology and see how it works. So hold on to your seats. We'll see how this works. So we may want to enable people to unmute or speak and not just type into. If we're able to do that, that's fantastic. It's tough for me to see who to unmute or who to. So if you're able to raise your hand or whatever, feel free. And also feel free to share it in the chat. But this is, I think, a really important part of this before I move to the question part is telling the stories of the river. And so I told this story. I'm going to start with my story so that then you can have your story. And I told this last night in Andrews, and I promise I'll probably tick some people off because I didn't quite get the animals right. But I think I was about 7 years old, and my dad had gone off fishing, and we were at my grandmama's house, and he was out on the river somewhere behind Brick Church off of 527 over in Sumter County. And he got to, and I named animals last night, and I've had people say, I'm not sure that's actually what happened. So, but he got to watching two different creatures who shouldn't be fight on a log. And instead of fishing, he just stopped and watched these animals get in this fight. And meanwhile, a storm was sweeping across, and it was a tornado. And we were hunkering down at Grandmama's house. And he realized that it was coming. And he left that boat. He didn't have time to load it up on the trailer. And he got in his truck and he took off. He comes, we're all hiding in the closet at Grandmama's house. He comes in, storm kind of passes over, but not quite all the way over. And he packs me and my brother up, and he takes us back out into the swamp with him to load his boat up, leaves us in the car. The storm's still whipping up and the trees are growing everywhere. And my brother and I he's little, and I'm supposed to be the brave big brother. And I was screaming as loud as he was for Dad to come back. So that's my memory. And I didn't name animals because I know that I'll get them wrong. So, but if you've got a story or a memory, I'd love to hear that as well. And feel free to, if you're able to voice it, or type it in. and share your story. That one's a little emotionally charged for me, but I can look back on it and laugh. I have a comment from Bloomingvale. The Robert D. Irvin boat landing is considered a state park in the Bloomingvale community. I love that comment, that for that community, it's considered their kind of state park. So, all right, story time. What are your stories, memories?
I have one in Greeleyville.
All right, I want to hear it.
You want to hear it right now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Let's hear the Greeleyville story.
Yes, I just want to say, I think this is a very worthwhile venture we're about to undertake. But my name is Eddie Woods. I'm going back to when I was a little boy, which was about 200 years ago. My father, every Saturday, I look forward to going on the Black River with my father and my two younger brothers. And we would go to a certain little area he had designated that for us to catch warmouths and brims. And we would go there each Saturday and we would save up all of our monies during the week. We would pick cotton and crop tobacco. And we were just little boys, 6, 7 years old. And we were working on the farm and we would save up our money to buy tackle to go fishing. And we would go back and we would catch fish. We would come home, we would clean the fish, and our mother would cook them up, and we would, of course, would eat them that night. And that was just to me, it's an emotional situation when I think back and think where we came from and what we're about to venture into now. It almost brings tears to my eye because I really do love this area, and I really love Black River. And this is long overdue. And it's about time that someone or somebody highlight this area, this river, which was so neglected for so long. And I think the whole world needs to know about this river and what it represents. And it's unique in itself. And the fact that the water in Black River is actually, the water it's not black, but it looks black. And that's unique in itself. And that's just one fond memory I have of growing up on the Black River. Thank you.
Mr. Woods, thank you so much for sharing that story. You know, fathers and sons and fishing on the river. And I don't think, I probably have every reason to believe my mom probably couldn't cook the brim as good as your mom can. So. And my mom is not on this meeting, so I'm sure. Any other stories? Love to hear them. We have a caller. Grew up on a hunting plantation farm with 2 river accesses. I had a wonderful childhood, and some of my best memories were made at Black River. I can't point to a single memory because there were so many, so many. Love it, love it. Other stories, memories, experiences you want to share? I'm not going to close the door on it. So if you've got one, jump right in, but I'm going to open the door. This is really a good time if you have questions and want to ask questions, feel free to do so. And what I'll do is I'll do my best to answer them. I'll also depend on the other partners to maybe chime in and answer where I may not be able to. And there may be questions that we have that right now we don't have an answer because we just don't know yet. So chance to
Kennedy, I have a question. They
okay.
want to know, where does Black River begin?
Where does the Black River begin? And so while I'm waiting on getting a response on that, I just want to circle back, because the Black River does not begin where this project begins, but I want to share some memories, watching family members being baptized, watching grandchildren learn to ski, and watching a grandchild learn to swim. And then kayaking with friends from Sims Reach to Parsons Farm. This is great. So I'd love for a team member, if you don't mind. This project begins in Kingstree and ends at Rocky Point in Georgetown, but the Black River begins way above that. So I'd love for a team member who will not misspeak, because I will, on where the Black River begins. If y'all have an answer, feel free to pop it in the chat box or take the mic there. And as we're looking for that answer, I want to read a few more. Kayaking with friends, we got that one. Watching the massive equipment, oh gosh. Watching the massive equipment cleaning out the river after Hugo. Amen to that. A lot of memories for those of us who are around in 1989. Good. So we got Lee County is where the river begins. And good, a great question about the timeline of this process. And so on the timeline, this really is the beginning of a year planning process. So there's a lot of discussion to be had, a lot of input to continue to have on this, because we are at the very beginning. So that's the planning process. And then we look at, once the planning process is done, the planning process will begin to establish what the timeline is for implementation, because that could be beyond that year planning process. And what I've experienced in other planning processes is that while the planning is going on, there may be certain things that are happening that are pieces of implementation while it's happening. So that could be happening simultaneously. And then we'd encourage you to refer to the story map, because as the process continues, we'll keep updating. So I hope that answers that question. The next question I see is, will there be lifeguards? And that's a question that we certainly can't answer yet, because we don't know what all facilities and where they will be. So that's a great question, and I know that we don't know the answer to that yet. And then the third question I see here is, do we have an official name of the state park? And we do not have an official name of the state park. So I know right now we are deliberately kind of, I won't say dancing around, but we're deliberately kind of being vague about how we characterize this, because we don't want to name it something, because this is truly unique in that it's multiple pieces of property in 2 counties. And so we don't have an official name yet, because it may not all be officially state park. There may be some parts that are and some parts that aren't. And then we have a question about managing the state park once developed. And I think this is a corollary to the other question, is that it may very well be that some pieces of it may be managed by South Carolina State Parks. Other pieces may have other management, depending on what that use is and how that works, because we have publicly owned properties and privately owned properties that have public access. And so that management plan and how that kind of works will be part of this process. And then I've got a couple other things here. Battle of the Lower Bridge was tough near Hines Track. So I'm assuming that observation relates to a Revolutionary War battle that would be Heinz Tract. I can very much imagine, because a lot of Revolutionary War battles happen. So if anyone wants to elaborate on that. And then I have another observation. It begins in Sumter County, ends in Georgetown. Once was called the Weenie, 151 miles long. And we had a comment earlier that begins in Lee County. I know that there is a part of the river where the river is the line between Lee County and Sumter County. So I'm sure we'll get some more. We have this great comment: conserve it, make it safe, protect, post the land for the private land, litter law enforcement, and DNR park ranger enforced. So that is a comment. I love all those together that you heard there. That idea of conserving it, making it safe, protecting and posting the private land to protect those owners, making sure litter is enforced, and then having DNR and park rangers on there. And then we have a comment, Lewis Drucker states, I'm not sure what Lewis is stating. It may be the battle, it may be the beginning. Well, it starts in Lee County. All right. Lewis Drucker is confirming it starts in Lee County. And it does kind of that tip of Sumter County there near Maysville, I know. So keep the focus on the specialness of the land and water. Love that. And I like that observation, because so many of these places, it's that interaction of water and land, not just the water, not just the land, but how they intersect. And okay, starts in Lee County into Charleston, where it merges with the Pocatello and flows through. Okay. I'm getting real confused on the river map here. So I'm going to leave it to the experts to keep on that one. Will the public have 24-hour access to the park? That's a great question, and one that we don't know the answer to right now. I know that there are certain boat landings in South Carolina that allow fishing to happen, 24 hours. I think almost all of our state parks do have hours that close. And so, again, it kind of goes back to different pieces may have different parts and management. And then the question again, when will the development start? Or I assume that question is the development of the park itself. Again, a lot of discussions are already happening right now. I think a really important one is the fact that all these partners are joining forces. And so having the counties, having the communities, having state parks, having an open space initiative. I'm not going to get all the lists. Winyah Rivers Alliance, all those there. So I have a comment from Emma Boyer. Rocky Point Landing, for example, is a 24-hour access. So it would probably depend on the location. There'll probably be landings that are 24 access, because they're folks who like to get out real early and come in later. Here we go. So we get a little comment, a little elaboration. The lower bridge was a Revolutionary War battle with Francis Marion just outside of Kingstree. And then, of course, at Black Mingo and Willtown, where Francis Marion was. I love this question. How many jobs will be created? I think this project team is very mindful of, number one, conservation, preservation, and respecting the beauty of the river, but also very mindful of the economic opportunity that could come with a carefully curated park and recreational amenity to help enliven and enrich the economies of the communities along the river. So we can't pin a number on that, but I think you can trust that the team members are looking, of course, priority wise, at making sure that the natural resource is protected for the long term, but also looking at the benefits from an economic development standpoint of having a carefully preserved and publicly accessible natural area. And if there's anyone on the team that I am misspeaking and misrepresenting, please, please chime in and correct me, because I'm doing my best to field questions with as I understand it. How much land will be developed? And so again, that is a really good question, but and we don't know the full answer, but I wouldn't mind if someone on the team could contribute just some comments on roughly what some of the tract sizes are, just so that people can get an idea on what some of those tract sizes are. That may be helpful. And I believe some of that is on the storyboard too. And then the next step in the process. Pardon me? Rocky Point, 650 acres. So that's in Georgetown County, just to give you an idea. I believe the Black River Landing, really at Mill Street, we're probably talking about 4 or 5 acres here in Kingstree. Again, we have a next step in the process. The design team is busy at work doing a lot of their ground research and inventory and understanding of the park. One of the important next steps in the process, and I don't believe we've had that date quite pinned down yet, is that there will be a public, a charrette open to the public. And that's a big kind of open planning session. And so that's an important next milestone as far as public involvement, where folks can actually see people on the ground working and helping to contribute additional input. So I don't know that's the exact next step, but that's another important step where we certainly anticipate public participation. And that kind of relates to our start and finish dates. We're kind of underway, but very early, and we're looking at about a year-long process. So probably looking at early 2022, but my team members may jump in and say, no, Trip, you're off here by a bit. And I'm getting here. I'm behind a couple. I have to read this aloud for those who don't see the chat. My memory is going on a date on the Black River. I got picked up at River Bridge and Seven Bridge Road and rode to Baker's and went out to eat early dinner. And then he brought me back to my car. Wonderful memories. He said he didn't have a license. So what a cool memory. We have a question in the auditorium in Kingstree. So I think this is an opportunity for a live question.
Question for from one of the citizens is, how much would be and who would be responsible for paying for it?
Okay, so how much for the park and who will be responsible for paying for it? I love getting questions like that. We have no idea on how much because we're at the very beginning of the process. And then as far as who will pay for it, that's another part that this process will uncover as well. And so I'm not evading the question. It's more of a, depending on, so many of these projects take many, many years to develop and continue. And if you look at, some of our older state parks that, when you say how much will it be, well, there's the construction cost, but then there's the ongoing maintenance. And so part of the process is to establish, well, what might happen first? How much would that cost? And what are the sources of revenue to be able to pay for it? And so it's a great question. And the answer to the question is this process seeks to uncover those things so that we can look at realistic costs, how those costs can be covered, And then circling back to prior comments, how is it maintained? I have a comment, remember the cut down ground. And someone, I'm reading that out loud, so someone might be, want to elaborate on that. I think I'm caught up on the comments and the live questions. I do get a comment, we'll be going after Land Water Conservation Fund, federal funds. There are a lot of different sources that are there, that are potentially available. And that's one of the beauties of having so many partners at the table. And I'll just speak, a little off script here, is that when you have state agencies, local government, county government, private citizens, nonprofit organizations, all of these bring different potential funding resources. So a local government may not have access to certain funds that a nonprofit would have access for. A nonprofit might not have access to funds that a county government could have access to. And then part of the process is kind of like, how do we match, that funding source to that resource and so forth. Other questions, comments, thoughts? Thank you. Great meeting. Thank you all. We are at an hour. I don't want to inhibit discussion, but I do want to share my screen one more time. Let me see if I can do this. And get to the right slide. If you have not taken the survey yet, feel free to hold your device up to this QR code and it will capture the survey. Within the survey is a link to the story map. And so feel free to, definitely engage with the story map, because that's kind of our living roadmap for the project. And
okay, we have one question in Greeleyville.
Okay, got a Greeleyville question?
Yes, are there any other state parks that's comparable to the one that we are proposing?
That's Mr. Woods again, isn't it? Mr. Woods?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I love that question. And that's a great way to kind of wrap. And I'm not, if y'all want to linger and have some additional chat. The answer to that is no. And I actually love saying that answer. This is a one of a kind. This is truly a one of a kind, because there's not another state park in South Carolina that I'm aware of that both could have multiple points, focuses on blueway, green spaces, open spaces, waterways, and transcends and crosses across multiple communities and multiple counties. So the answer to your question is, this is truly a one of a kind. Just personally, for those of you who are residents here in Williamsburg and part of this process, don't you think we deserve a one of a kind? Because the Black River is a one of a kind. So with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thanks for your patience as we deal with new technology and how to do this remotely. And please stay involved. And I'm going to share this thought here. This is a unique style park. The river is the common link that connects the multiple sites with different features. Not all the sites will have the same amenities, and it's never been done in South Carolina. So we're on a great adventure together, and thank you all for being part of the adventure.
Will have the same amenities.
State Park,
and it's never been done in South Carolina. So we're on a great adventure together. And thank you all for being part of the adventure. State Park.
Hey, Chip, before you close out,
Yes.
can I say something? I just really want to thank the Williamsburg County team for getting this done and allowing us the ability to reach out to our citizens all over the county. I'm so excited for this, for the effort you guys put in, and it turned out great. So kudos to the team, and I just want to thank the team that's working with us to make this a future experience for Williamsburg County. Thank you guys for all your help.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wright. We appreciate your coordination and your staff. Wow. I just want to thank everybody at Williamsburg County who put this together. Y'all are awesome. You pulled out technology I've never seen. So this has been a great experience, and thank you for bringing that up, and thank you all who've been a part of it. Have a great evening, everyone.